9. Lourdes Hernandez. During the early morning hours one day in 2020, New Mexico State Police Officer Gustavo Avina pulled a vehicle over for speeding at 73 miles per hour, 117.5 kilometers per hour, in a 55 mile per hour, 88.5 kilometer per hour zone. Behind the wheel was a 25-year-old off-duty Las Cruces officer, Lourdes Hernandez, who parked in the middle of a traffic lane for the traffic stop. She told the trooper that she had her service gun on her. According to a state police report, she seemed impaired. As she rummaged through her car for her insurance and registration, she told Avina that she never gets pulled over. When the officer mentioned how she had pulled over in the middle of the road, she said it again, that she never gets pulled over. Avina asked Hernandez if she had been drinking, mentioning that he smelled alcohol and that her eyes were red. Hernandez denied drinking any booze and began to tear up as she explained that she and her boyfriend had just gotten into a fight. She refused a breathalyzer, which comes with an aggravated DWI charge under New Mexico law, and also refused to take a field sobriety test. Authorities also charged Hernandez with speeding and negligent use of a deadly weapon. She was placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of the case. 8. Russell Brown. During a vacation to Scottsdale, Arizona in early 2023, Canadian Supreme Court Justice Russell Brown allegedly got drunk and began behaving strangely. He was accused of approaching a group of guests at a luxury resort and spa, and sitting with them uninvited and trying to follow guests to their rooms. According to the cringeworthy details of a police report, Brown bragged about the importance of his job position to the group of people he joined in the lounge. He also read some lines from a speech he delivered earlier that day. The report claimed that some female witnesses described Brown as creepy, and that he continued kissing their hands and flirting after they asked him to stop. They were the same women who later said that Brown tried going back to their rooms with them. An onlooker named Jonathan Crump reportedly punched the judge several times to try getting him to leave the women alone. He said he told Brown that he was clearly intoxicated and that he was making people uncomfortable. Brown allegedly pushed Crump, who responded by pushing him back and clocking him twice. By the time police arrived, Brown was in his room and didn't answer the door. Officers took a report from Crump and others who were willing to talk, and they concluded that Crump's decision to punch Brown appeared reasonable and necessary. And while no arrests were made, Crump complained to Canada's Supreme Court, and Brown was put on leave pending the outcome of an ongoing investigation. He initially avoided commenting to the media, but has denied Crump's allegations and claims that he was attacked in an unprovoked fashion. 7. Mary Kavanaugh. In early 2022, police in Livonia, Michigan pulled over a vehicle that was swerving all over the road and had 2 flat tires. The traffic stop was enacted after an officer heard the thumping sound of the vehicle's deflated wheels rotating on the pavement. The driver, Michigan Representative Mary Kavanaugh, clearly seemed impaired. According to a police report, she said to the officer, "I feel like I had some type of tire or something." He told the cop that she was coming from a political meeting, but was unable to tell him where it had occurred. Kavanaugh repeatedly rifled through the same stack of papers, which clearly did not contain the documents the officer had asked her for. When he asked her if she knew how her tires popped, she said no. The boozed-up lawmaker was charged with operating a vehicle while intoxicated. It was her second case, and she publicly admitted to it. She said that she struggles with addiction and apologized for her actions. Kavanaugh pleaded guilty to the charge and was sentenced to probation and ordered to pay fines. She still holds her position as a representative. 6. Casey Anderson. In 2022, officials in Montgomery County, Maryland, received an anonymous email accusing the county's planning board chairman, Casey Anderson, of having a full bar in his office. The complaint accused Anderson of drinking on the job, along with members of the Department of Parks and the Montgomery County Planning Department. In the words of the email, Anderson has over 32 bottles of hard liquor in his office, where he routinely creates mixed drinks and distributes them on a significant scale. The message also claimed that he had forced coworkers and colleagues to drink on several occasions. An investigation was launched. The whistleblower insisted on staying anonymous, but dropped the names of 10 employees who allegedly drank with Anderson, or at least had first-hand knowledge that it was going on. A confidential internal report obtained by 7 News revealed that at least 2 employees confessed to drinking with Anderson in his office, on an average of 2 times per month. Another employee admitted to participating in the festivities, but said that they didn't interpret it as being overly wrong because these extracurriculars typically happened outside normal work hours and on Fridays. But the county has a zero-tolerance policy toward alcohol, and Anderson's liquor stash was in direct violation of the rules. Anderson admitted to having the alcohol, but denied ever pressuring anyone to drink. He emptied out the cabinet and took full responsibility for his actions, admitting that he should have never brought alcohol into the workplace, even if it was only being consumed after work. 5. Jody Warner. Unlike some of the government officials you'll hear about in today's video, former Dallas Assistant Prosecutor Jody Warner wisely ordered an Uber when she had been drinking and needed to get home one night in 2017. But her smart decisions apparently ended there. During the ride, Warner allegedly ordered the driver, Sean Platt, to stop using GPS and to follow her instructions instead. He said that she stopped giving him directions at some point and an argument ensued, during which Warner began calling Platt names and implied that if he called the police, they would believe her story over his because of her job position. Realizing that she could be right, Platt took his phone out and began recording the attorney's obnoxious behavior. She pushed the limits to the point where he asked her to get out of the car. Warner refused, demanding that Platt either take her home or get the cops involved. The frustrated driver opted for the latter and waited patiently for the police to arrive while Warner continued to berate him, calling him a joke, an idiot, and other insulting names. She even threatened that the cops would F him up, told him to shut the F up, and accused him of committing a felony and kidnapping her by refusing to drive her home. Platt turned the footage over to the Dallas Morning News, and it quickly went viral. It wasn't long before Dallas County District Attorney Faith Johnson announced that Warner had been fired. During a press conference, Warner claimed that she felt uncomfortable when Platt took a different route to her house than the one she's accustomed to. She said she went into fight or flight mode and that not everything Platt accused her of was true. Warner apologized, but to some, it sounded like she was also continuing to make excuses for her abhorrent behavior. 4. Jed Fillingham. A senior executive for the U.S. Veterans Affairs Department named Jed Fillingham was in Dallas for a conference in 2010 when he was met with an unexpected tragedy. He and 2 colleagues went out drinking together and then got into a vehicle together and headed toward their next destination. During the drive, 38-year-old Amy Wheat fell out of the car and died. Police took Fillingham into custody on suspicion of intoxication manslaughter, but authorities declined to bring charges when his blood alcohol level tested at 0.03, well below the legal limit for driving in Texas. It is possible that Fillingham was drunk at the time of the accident. The test wasn't administered until 6 hours after the accident, and 12 hours after he first entered the bar, which gave him plenty of time to sober up. Records show that he and colleague Chad Barney charged over a dozen drinks to their credit cards that night, totaling 14 beers, 12 Jaeger bombs, and 2 servings of vodka. According to a police report, investigators ruled out foul play and concluded that Amy Wheat exited the vehicle on her own accord. Fillingham was found in violation of VA policy, however, and resigned from his position amid the controversy, but was rehired for a different role the following year. Wheat's mother, Annette Berry, was outraged at the lack of consequences against Brown, as well as the fact that he was back to making a six-figure salary within months of her daughter's tragic death. 3. Teresa Gruber. At least 6 U.S. Social Security Administration employees implicated one of the agency's top officials for acting intoxicated on the job in 2022. The allegations came to light during an investigation stemming from a complaint about Deputy Commissioner Teresa Gruber, who oversees an estimated 9,000 employees and is in charge of a $1.2 billion budget. Witnesses described observing Gruber with slurred speech, walking out of meetings without explanation, slouching, and acting volatile. 3 senior staffers who served directly under her confirmed the claims to the Washington Post on condition of anonymity. By the time the story broke out in mid-2022, the number of complaints against Gruber only seemed to be growing, yet she remained on the job. In the meantime, employees claimed that her erratic behavior had also continued. The staff members who complained admitted that they hadn't seen Gruber drinking, but said that her behavior caused them to wonder if she was drunk. There was also speculation that the 53-year-old was acting strange due to poorly managed diabetes. Either way, it was affecting her ability to do her job, according to those who raised the alarm. An investigation concluded that Gruber had, in fact, displayed significant anomalies over the last year on the job. She was reassigned as a senior advisor to acting Social Security Commissioner Kilolo Kijakazi. 2. Gerald Johnson. During the fall of 2021, police were called to a home in Habersham County, Georgia, in response to a report about a domestic incident. They arrived to find the county's top judge, Chief Magistrate Gerald Johnson, in his yard with a gun in his hand. He was allegedly drunk and had broken his wife's car window, shot the gun several times, asked a deputy to turn off his body cam, and was also accused of pointing the weapon at responding officers. While law enforcement chose not to criminally charge Johnson, the sheriff reported the incident to the Judicial Qualifications Commission during a hearing in late 2022, after being suspended for a year pending the outcome of the investigation. According to the attorney, Johnson was shooting his gun and drinking in the privacy of his property. He had also completed a treatment program for alcohol abuse. In Johnson's words, "I used alcohol as an escape and it became a prison." He testified that he only remembered parts of the ordeal that put his career in jeopardy. The hearing concluded that the sheriff's deputies who responded to the scene on the day of the judge's drunken outburst showed preferential treatment by not arresting him. Additionally, the panel determined that Johnson had violated the Judicial Code of Conduct and recommended his removal from the bench. Instead of sticking around until he was terminated, Johnson resigned. In a statement, he wrote that he respectfully disagreed with the committee's findings, but he apologized for his behavior and acknowledged that the situation affected the public's perception of his ability to be a good judge. 1. Chicago woman tries to walk through drive-thru. A 27-year-old Chicago woman made headlines in 2012 when she walked up to a McDonald's drive-thru window in Greenfield, Wisconsin in the middle of the night. One can only imagine that she must have been at least somewhat intoxicated to try ordering in such an unconventional way. A long line of cars formed behind her as an employee told her that she can't use the drive-thru as a walk-through. The woman refused to go away, so a staff member called the police. When officers arrived, she reportedly told them that she was a level GS-14 government employee, which would put her one level below the top rank, and that she made over $100,000 per year. But law enforcement was no more impressed by the claim than the fast food employees. An officer tried escorting the woman away from the drive-thru, but she allegedly crossed her arms and yelled at him not to touch her. She started to storm off in another direction and was hit with a disorderly conduct charge. According to a police report, she smelled of booze, her speech was slurred, and her eyes were glassy and bloodshot. Her blood alcohol level tested out at a .197, more than twice the legal limit for driving. Perhaps the one takeaway in her favor is the fact that she didn't get behind the wheel. Thanks for watching. If you saw a well-known government official harassing a restaurant server or a valet parking attendant for no apparent valid reason, would you step in and stand up for the worker, or would you stay out of it? Let us know in the comments below, and remember to subscribe. See you soon. Bye.